Hey guys, welcome to part 8, and the first thing we're going to do in this video is download the images that we're going to need for our Uno game. So there's this really cool website called Open Game Art, and you can get the Uno sprites from there. So just look up Open Game Art Uno sprites, and then click the first link, and then make sure that it's this URL, and then this is a preview of what the cards look like and the types of cards they have. So it's really good work. And then pretty much you're just going to go here and you're just going to select this. And I've already done this, so don't worry. You're going to download these Uno card assets. Open it up. And then just extract it. It's going to take a little bit because it's bigger. It's a lot of different images in here. Alright, so now that it's finished downloading, locate wherever you have your Uno project that we've been working on. So just select it and then cut it, and then you're going to paste it wherever you have your Uno game saved. So for me, I have it in my documents and my netbean projects. Go to my Uno project, go to my source code, main, Java, the package com, my company, and then inside of here is my Uno project with all of the files that we made. So like the Uno card, the Uno deck, the menu, the game. So you cut it already, so you just paste it in here. And then there you go. And then just to make this simpler, we're just gonna rename this images, and then inside of here you'll see we have the different different options. So there's a sprite sheet with like everything, but we're gonna be using the PNG, and then we're gonna be using small, and this has all the different images that we're going to be using. So the one thing that's going to be time consuming is that because of the way that we're going to implement how the cards in our GUI, so like how when you're playing the game, how it recognizes where to put the cards. So like we're going to make buttons that are going to have the card image on it. And because of how we set up our numerations, we set them out, we spelled them out completely. Like I actually spelled out 0, 1, 2, 3 through 6, and then draw 2, skip reverse. And then the same thing here, we literally spelled these out. And the card images, they don't match with, like our numerations are uppercase, but the card images, the file names are lowercase blue. So instead of like capital BLUE, it's lowercase BLUE. And then instead of spelling out 0, it just has the number 0. So like right there, and this is different. So what I would recommend is, and this is going to be time consuming, but to change the name of these files to match how our numeration would be. The other option would be to switch how the enumerations are, but then you're going to have to switch some of the code from the Uno card class and the Uno deck class to match that. So just so you don't mess anything up unless you feel confident enough to do that, I would just recommend going right here and just rename blue _0. And just like that. And then you're going to have to go through that and do that for all these card images, and then like, which is going to be a little bit time consuming, but there's not really anything you can do about that. You can't download it so that it's automatically like how the way we want it. So that's what I had to do, so that's what I recommend you all do. And I would say the main things to watch out for is like, you should be able to figure out that blue number 1 should be changed to capital blue and then spelled out 1. Same thing for 1 through 9. But notice that this says blue underscore picker, and that's just going to be like the +2 card. So that would just be blue underscore, and then what did we do? Draw 2. So blue underscore, and then draw 2 exactly like that. And then the skip and reverse should be easy. Just capitalize those. And then for the wild card, wild color changer, that's going to be the wild card. So that would just be wild underscore wild. So yeah, that would just be wild underscore wild. And then the wild draw 4 card would just be wild, and then wild underscore 4. So that's how you would do those two. So that would be this one, which is right next to that one. So that's the wild underscore 4. And then, yeah, that should be it. So once you change the names of all those to match, we should be able to move to the next part. So once you've finished, it should look like this. So go to your images folder, PNGs, we're doing small, and then it should look like this. So blue underscore draw 2, blue underscore 8, blue underscore 5, all like that spelled out, reverse 7, skip. And then I just changed like the card, like the backs. I just changed that to uppercase, just keep everything consistent. So card, back, ready, red draw 2. Here's the wild card, so that's how those should look. So wild underscore wild, and then wild underscore 4. Yellow draw 2. So that's how those should look. So just use that as a reference. So yeah, you're gonna have to rename those files to match. So sorry that's a little bit time consuming, but it's the one unfortunate part of this project. So now that we've done that, we can move on to the next part. So now we're going to continue what we started from the last video, and we're going to create the game stage class. So right click this folder, go to new, and go to JFrame form, and then we're going to call this game stage. And then for the design of this, we're going to make this, okay, we're going to see if there's a way to set this. So on the bottom right, you can start up here, properties, and then just scroll down. You keep scrolling till you get to preferred size. And then you're just going to click these 3 little dots, and then you're just going to set the width and the height to 1920 by 1080. If you know like your monitor's dimensions, that's like pretty standard like for HD. But if you don't know, just to be safe, do 1280 by 720. But 1920 by 1080 should be fine. But just mess around with that. It's not that big of a deal, but should get it to work. And then now get a J panel. And then you're just going to put it in the top left corner, and then you're just going to stretch this out to here. So the next thing you're going to do is get your J panel, and then I already stretched it. Just stretch it to the edge of this, and then even though it says 641 is the width and 300 is the height, that's just like so we don't have to actually use up our whole screen. So just make sure that you also set the preferred size of the J panel to 1920 by 1080, and then this eye right here lets us preview what it's going to look like. So like preview the design. So if you click on it, this is what we actually looks like. It's just a blank screen, but it's just a representation of what the game's actually going to look like. But we're just using this pretty much scaled down for size. So the first thing that we're going to do is let me see if I can find this really quick. So you're going to actually click JFrame, and then you're going to go to title, and then just in here you're just going to type in Uno. And now if you notice when we launch our design preview, it says Uno up here in the top left corner. So that just changes the title of the window. And now what we're going to do is start actually writing the source code for this class. So here we go. First thing we're going to do is make a add player names object. So I'm just gonna start right here. Okay, so private. Alright, let's clean that up a little bit. Alright, private add player names, call it add players equals new add player names. And then that's just gonna be our pretty much like our add players name window that we need. Then we're gonna make an array list of strings called temp, and you all see why it's temporary later. Then we need our player IDs for when they actually add in the players. We need a game. We're gonna need card buttons, so like players can look at their cards and then select the one they want. So we can't use an array to do this because an array is like a fixed value. You have to be like, oh, I want this many spaces. Like I want the array to be 10 elements long. I want the length of the array to be 10. But an array list allows us to change our size dynamically, like as the program is running. So that's what we're going to use instead of it just an array, because we can change as the game goes. So we're going to make an array list of JButtons, and we'll call it card buttons, and equals new array list JButton. And then our last thing is going to be an array list of card IDs, or array list of string, and we'll call it card IDs. And then we're going to have one thing called pop up window. So that's actually a class that we're going to make later, but we're just going to put it in for now. It's pretty much going to be like when you select a card, a pop-up is going to show up that's asking you if you want to confirm that you're using the card or if you want to cancel it. So to get rid of these errors, you're just going to click this, and then you're going to import array list. Take care of those errors, and then I'm pretty sure for this one you just have to import Java Swing JButton, and then this error isn't going to go away, but just ignore it for now. We're not going to run anything yet. So then you can just leave the constructor. Okay, yeah, actually no. So now we're going to initialize in our constructor. So temp equals player IDs. Okay. You're going to get an array list of strings, player IDs. So we're going to get our player IDs in our constructor. So when we create the game stage, we're going to need an array list string, and we're calling it player IDs. And then we're going to put those into our temp array list. And then our player IDs is going to be what we actually use. So this string array is going to be what we actually use. But since it's an array list, we have to convert it back to an array. So we can just do that by using toArray. So this is just converting the array list to an array. And then of size, the size of whatever the temporary array list is. And then if we check our game class, the game needed an array of strings with the player IDs to begin. So now that we finally have our player IDs that we got here, and then we turned it from an array list to an array, we can finally create a game. So game equals new game, player IDs. And then we're going to populate our array list. Actually, let's go do that really quick. So below our constructor, we're going to make a method called populate array list. And it's just going to fill up our array list with values. So public void populate array list. And then now we're going to go back to our design and actually add the buttons that we want. So let's go do that. So here's a button, and we're just going to line them up. And we're going to make this 35, and then make the height like 50. And that should be good. And then we're going to do that over and over again. And just make sure that the height is consistent and the width is consistent. So 35. And then we're just going to keep doing that across the bottom. So I'm going to go do that, and then I'll be back when I'm done. So two things that I found while I did this was, one is that this weird thing happens where the buttons will change their size. Like, I don't know if this happened to anyone else, but like the buttons are going back to the small size. So yeah, I don't know how to fix that. You're just gonna have to go back and just drag these. And then the second thing that I found was, okay, well, I don't know why this button's being complicated, but if you click on a button and press Control C and then click somewhere else and then put like Control V, it'll give you the same size. Then it'll mess these up. So yeah, I would just paste a lot of these, and that way you save yourself some time instead of having to click back here and go back and forth. So just move these, and then I'll just be back when I'm done adding these up. So when I went to the design, this actually got messed up. So I want to set your J-frame to 1280 by 720, and then you're going to want to set your J panel to the same width and height preferred. So 1280 by 720. So what I've found is that the size that you set in here and the dimensions that you set it is literally just depends on your display. So, and like the size of your display and your resolution. So just mess around with it and just check in here to see how it's looking. And just make sure that everything is like looking how you want it to look on your device. So for me, 1280 by 720 is how I'm gonna set the preferred size of my J pen on my J frame. And then for my J buttons, the size is 100, and then the width is like the default width. So that's what I'm gonna do. And then the gap in between is like, I think if I click right here, it'll say like, hold on, default small gap. So just go for that, and then start like push it up right against here to get like what I'm doing. So yeah, default width and then 100 height. But that's going to work on my display. Your display will probably be different. So literally just mess around with it and just make sure you go back and forth and check to make sure that when you put it into full screen mode, it's looking like nice and good how it should. So guys, for me what worked was doing 100 height on the J buttons and then doing the default width that it gave me, and then I did 15 different J buttons, so it's going to be 15 cards, And once you finish setting the height and the width for the cards, you should look something like this. It doesn't have to look exactly like this, but I'd recommend putting a lot of buttons, because as you get more cards in Uno, like, you can easily get, like, you start with 7 cards and then you get a +4, you're already at 11, you get another +4, you're already at 15, and then you fill up all your card slots. So I would put at least 12 or 13, but preferably 15 plus is how many cards you're going to want to have on the bottom. So, and this really just depends on your screen size and your resolution, so just mess around with it, and then if it looks like satisfactory, like if you're good with it, then you can just move on to the next part. But if not, just mess around with it and just keep adjusting things until you get it how you like it.